Hi, guys. Welcome to Broken Journey, the podcast. I am your host, Elba Rivera. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and listen to my podcast. If you like my podcast, the best thing that you can do for me is share it with your friends and family. When you have a podcast, the only way it gets distributed is through word of mouth. This is not like traditional radio. So, again, if this is something that you like, any of my episodes, please share it with others. Thank you so, so much. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about forgiveness. I was actually on Clubhouse. I think I'm a little addicted to it, but anyway, there were so many different conversations going on in the rooms, and one of them was about forgiveness. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think that, listening to some of the people talk and having issues with forgiving people is probably something that we all go through, right? Um, One or another time in our life, somebody's going to hurt us. Somebody is going to do something that is going to hurt our feelings, or maybe we could get it, a little deeper and, something from a childhood trauma, right? That may have caused us to have anger and hate and issues forgiving that person, right? So I just wanted to go over a few things on ways that I have forgiven people and things that I have seen online on how to forgive people. So, obviously, I've been through a lot in my life as well. And I have experienced, things where people have hurt me, right? And a lot of times people think that holding a grudge against that person is going to like hurt them. But in reality, it's only hurting you, right? And some people don't realize that they're hurting you because they're used to hurting people. And sometimes we have to realize that. Again, I can go into a whole bunch of different things where, you know, you deal with childhood traumas where you were sexually abused and, by somebody that you know. Usually it's somebody that you know when you are sexually abused, right, as a child. And having to deal with that person, let's say that person is in your family and you have to see that person every day. So that's very hard to forgive that person. And then you have, childhood traumas where your mom was abused by your dad. And, it can be vice versa too, because there are women who abuse men. Um, it's not often seen as much as the women because a lot of the times the men feel like they are like pendejos, they're suckers because they're, talking about the abuse that's been going on, right? And let's see what other kind of abuses are there. There's also mental abuse with, your actual parent, or people who are narcissists. They tend to have a habit of mistreating people. And those are a lot of those are just some of the things, not a lot. Those are just some of the things that people go through in their lives, right? And it's hard to forgive somebody because when you go out into the world and you realize, wait a minute, this shit was not normal. The life that I was living with an abusive mom who was, who would put you down all the time, or an abusive dad who would, mentally abusive, put you down, or someone, one of your parents who would beat on you, or maybe let's say, you were adopted and, that parent, used to abuse you in some way, right? Um, there's so many different aspects, and it's hard to kind of pinpoint every single abuse that is out there. Or maybe it can even be a relationship, right? A relationship that you're in, that maybe they were not physically abusive but they were mentally abusive, or you guys were in a relationship for so many years and all of a sudden that person decided, okay, I want to pick up and leave, right? And you deal with that, like, what the hell just happened, after 20 something years, or after 2 years, it doesn't matter, you've been in a relationship for a while, and all of a sudden that person decides, okay, well, I don't want to be with you no more, bye, see you. And you're trying to figure out what the hell happened, right? So you kind of get angry, you get upset, you get pissed off, and you're saying to yourself, like, this guy or this girl just truly broke my heart, broke it to the bone, right? And now you got to figure out what's the next step. And a lot of times it takes time to deal with that brokenness, to deal with forgiving that person, to deal with, saying, okay, it's time for me to move on, right? And there's some people who don't move on. There's some people who can't move on because they don't know how to, and they don't go and seek the assistance that they need to be able to move on with their lives. How many people have we seen where, you know, their ex have gone and killed them because they couldn't live without them. So they thought, right? Or because they can't see them with another person. They kind of get obsessed, right? And these are other things that happen in life, and a lot of people do not know how to deal with it. And sometimes, this is something that can be done over time with people who are surrounded by you, who are very nurturing. But then some people don't have that support system. Some people don't have a support system where people are there to help you, where people are there to look after you, where people are there to say, hey, girl, you know what? I know that this was your anniversary day, and it's only been 6 months, so let's go out, girl, let's go hang out, or guy, or your homeboy, say, yo, what's up, let's go hang out, let's go, pass the time and go do something. I don't know, I'm a girl, so I really don't know much about what guys go and do and stuff like that. I mean, I know some stuff, right? But I could just say, you know what? I'm gonna call my girlfriends. Let's go hang out. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Right. And I remember a time when me and my boyfriend, for a lot of years, we've been together a lot of years. We separated for some time. And, you know, his mom passed away, and he just went into a whirlwind where he went into a depression. He didn't care about anything or anyone. And, we had to separate. And it was hard because we had a good relationship. It wasn't perfect. No relationship is perfect, but, overall, it was a good relationship. And so for me, no matter what I said, no matter what I did, I couldn't help him. It was at a point where he had to help himself. So I had to let him go, right? And letting him go, fine, but I still had a problem with dealing with it, right? I still had my feelings were hurt. And then it came to a point where I was like, you know what? I have to pick up and move forward. And for the most part, him and I were separated for 3 years, and he went his way, I went my way. I, did my thing, he did his thing. And for the most part, he went through a different, um how do you say that? A different turmoil than what I went through, right? Um and he went into where he was at rock bottom and not me. I figured out how to deal with the stress. I'm so grateful that I have a support team. I'm so grateful that I have supportive friends, and they were there for me when I needed them, right? And I will always be grateful for them and for what they did during that transition. Um, Eventually, him and I got back together after 3 years. And, obviously things have changed, and I'm grateful for that. There are some things that, sometimes I just want to bang him upside his head because, there's some things that he's a stubborn kind of person. And so there's some things that I will talk to him about. For instance, um, dealing with dealing with retirement. Like, he's so stuck on, like, I don't care about retirement. I'm like, dude, you need to think about retirement, because the way social security is and all that other stuff, it's probably not going to be any money. And I don't know about you, but I want to be able to live a comfortable life when I retire. After working all these damn years, yeah, I want something that I can relax and chill, right? And be able to travel and things like that. So anyway, um going back to forgiveness, it takes time. It takes time. And as much as we do not want to understand it at the moment, when you are in that storm, there's nothing like you are sidetracked. There's nothing that, some people will say that will help you to understand, and that you just have to go through the process, right? And trust the process. I will tell you this, trust the process, because the process is going to make you so much stronger. It's going to make you so much better, and it's going to help you to deal with something like that if it ever happens again, that you will know how to deal with it in a better way, right? Because when you're young and you deal with breakup, it's so much different when you've already experienced it before, when you've learned how to deal with it and be able to overcome it, right? So, anyway, I wanted to go over some steps on forgiving those who hurt you, right? And again, there are some things that is very hard to forgive. And then there are some things that are easier to forgive, right? And so I wanted to just go, let me see, how many steps do I have here? I have 7 steps here. So I have my little notes. And so the first step is acknowledging, right? Acknowledge the situation or the person that hurt you. Once you acknowledge that, that'll help you on your first step, on your first journey, right? And then the second one is to create physical distance, right? So you want to remove yourself from either that person or that situation that caused you to be upset. So let's say, For instance, let me go back to a relationship, right? If you are in a relationship and you guys break up, whatever the situation may be, don't go back to that person just for a booty call, right? If the relationship stopped, don't go back just for a booty call. Don't go back just because you want to feel that person because you're lonely, right? When I broke up with my partner, it was, that's it, we're done. I would listen to him sometimes when he felt lonely or when he was having issues dealing with his mother's death or whatever, and I would just listen to him. But then there was times that I would have to tell him, this is what you need to do, even though he didn't want to hear it, right? And then there were times that I had to leave him alone. I had to block him from my cell phone, from him calling me, from him talking to me. Um, just block him altogether. Like, dude, you know what? You're dragging me down at this point and I don't want to deal with it, right? Um, and again, I'm not telling you that situations don't happen because him and I, after 3 years, we went back together. But there's situations where, you don't go back with that person, right? So you even if you want to stand by him, like to be a friend, like in this situation where his mom passed away and I knew he was going through, a hard process, right? There are situations where I have separated from someone and I said, you know what? I'm done. And that's it. I'm not going back. You want to talk to me about what? There's nothing for you and I to talk about, right? And you move forward. So you want to eliminate going to that person for certain things, right? Then number three is do shadow work, right? Do shadow work on yourself. Focus on improving yourself mentally, physically, and emotionally, right? Think about things that you are grateful for, right? Think about when when you were at a better stage in your life. Think about positive things. What is a good thing that came out of that relationship, right? Something that you've learned. And when you see yourself going and thinking about negative things, thinking about, things that are making you feel sad again, interrupt that thought. Interrupt that thought. Go and say, you know what? I'm canceling that negative thought right now and start thinking about positive things. Start thinking about positive things within yourself. Start looking for ways to improve yourself. Start thinking about ways of maybe channeling something that helps you to be a better you, right? Never compete with anybody else. Always compete with yourself that you are becoming a better person, right? And be gentle with yourself, right? Sometimes when we break up with people or, we have a situation, we tend to think that it's our fault. For instance, me and my boyfriend now, when we were together, right? And we broke up because he could not deal with his mother's death, which, hey, I understand, right? But he was not willing to go and get help. He was not willing to do what he needed to do to ease that pain. You're never gonna you're never gonna get over your parents' death, right? But you have to learn how to move on with your life and deal with it. And I don't want to sound I really don't want to sound like I'm insensitive, right? But you have to learn how to move on and keep the good memories of your parent, right? My mom is still alive and I'm grateful. My dad passed away 24 years ago and I still miss him, right? However, I've learned to move on and just remember the good times that I had when my father was around, right? So learn how to deal with your pain, learn how to talk positive to yourself, learn how to encourage yourself to do things that is going to help you to grow, right? Number 4, um, accept that that person may never apologize. If you are in a relationship, if you have been abused by a family member, um, if you have been, and I mean abused sexually, mentally, physically, however it is, the abuse that you went through, if you went through an abuse, sometimes those people don't acknowledge that. Sometimes they put it in the back of their head, like, girl, I don't know what you're talking about, right? And so you need to forgive that person, even if they don't apologize, right? Because there's some who will never apologize. And stop waiting for that person to apologize. Move on, forgive that person, and move forward. Because you know what? What's going to happen is going to be a weight lifted off your shoulders. You don't want to have to wait for that person to ask for forgiveness because that may never come. That forgiveness may never come, especially if it's sexual abuse. Some of these people are sick. Not some, they are sick. Not some, they are sick in the mind for abusing a young child, right? And because they are sick, they don't feel like it was an issue because they are dealing with their pleasures, right? So know that a lot of the times these people will not ask for forgiveness. So you need to forgive them and move on because you know what? All that is happening is that you are dealing with the pain. You are dealing with, let's say, the cross on your shoulder. You're dealing with the rocks on your shoulder. You're dealing with that weight on your shoulder. And that person is probably like, "Psh, whatever, you know, they're happy in their merry little way." And so you are interrupting your life. You are dealing with the pain and the suffering, and they're living their life like nothing happened. Now, I'm not telling you that it's going to be an easy situation, right? Because when you get abused, that's trauma. And you have to learn how to deal with that trauma. And you might even have to go to therapy to deal with that trauma. However, you need to forgive that person and move forward. And trust me when I tell you that when you do that, when you forgive that person who hurt you will be able to open up the doors to do so many things in your life, to be able to move forward in your life, right? Now, let me go to number 5. Number 5, surround yourself with people who are willing to fill you up. When you are going through something, like, again, I keep going back to the breakup, right? Because I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? Not everybody, and thank God, not everybody has been sexually abused or physically abused, right? But everybody can deal with a relationship and what they dealt with, a broken relationship, right? So surround yourself with people who are going to fill you up, right? Surround yourself with friends and family, or even both. I mean, either or, right? Who are willing to help you through the process. Get yourself some friends who are going to be there and help you through it. Get yourself some friends who will not judge you for having that meltdown when you see something that reminded you of that person, right? Get yourself some friends who will see you and tell you, yo, you don't look good. Let's go out. Let's go have a good time. Let's go have dinner. Let's go have lunch. Let's go have brunch. Let's go have a drink, right? Um, you definitely want to have some kind of friend who's like that, or a family member, right? And then give yourself permission. Give yourself permission to talk about it and release it. And then once you talk about it, don't look back. Don't keep playing that video in your mind. Don't keep playing that movie in your mind about the situation that happened, right? Move forward. Deal with the situation, talk about it, and then move forward. Because you know what? When you get into your car, right? You have that big windshield, right? And then you have the little rear view mirror. And you only look at the rear view mirror when you're going to change lanes, or you want to make sure nobody's behind you, or whatever the case may be. But then you have that windshield that is huge, that allows you to see everything that's in front of you. That's what you need to remember to look at. Look through the windshield that's in front of you, because that's where your future is going. That's where you are going. Time doesn't stop for no one. For no one. And if you keep on with the same situation, you're losing time. You're losing time with friends. You're losing time with family. You're losing time that you can probably find a partner who is going to appreciate you, who is going to be there for you, who's going to treat you the way you want to be treated. You want to be able to drive forward, right? And then and then the last one is know that it's not your fault. I would say 90% of those situations, whether it be abuse, whether it be a broken relationship, whatever the case may be, it's not your fault, right? It takes two to tango when it comes to a relationship. And if you guys are not communicating, then there's something wrong, right? There's something wrong. However, you still got to keep going. You still got to keep doing what you need to do. So maybe there might have been something that was your fault. Maybe it was their fault. Who knows what the situation was? But just know that you have to move forward. And know that forgiveness is part of your healing. Know that forgiveness is part of your healing. It will lift the weight off your shoulders. It will allow you to live free. It will allow you to move forward and enjoy the rest of your life. You can't control what happened to you in your past, right? Things happen to you in your past, you can't control, especially when you're a minor, because your parents should be there to protect you. And sometimes it slips, right? Sometimes, for instance, you know, there's a situation where you are abused and you were abused by your grandparent where you're supposed to be in a safe place, or you were abused by your brother, or you were abused by an uncle or an aunt or a family friend, thinking your parents thinking, hey, you know what, this person is a good person, right? Your grandparents, who is going to think that your grandparent is going to abuse you, right? Who is going to think that your brother, your uncle, right? Because you never seen the, the parents have never seen those tendencies, right? Or maybe they never acknowledged it, right? And then it happens to you. And so you want to be able to live going forward, you want to be able to live your life free, to live your life however you want to. And you can, but you have to learn how to forgive first. You have to learn how to forgive first. And once you forgive, you will set yourself free. Don't forgive so that that person can set themselves free. No. Forgive so that you can set yourself free, so that you can be free to live an abundant life, to live a life of freedom, to live a life that you can make a difference in somebody's life, right? Your path in life has its own struggles. And a lot of the times, those struggles will allow you to help somebody else. Those struggles will give you an opportunity to do something for somebody else. So, with that being said, if you are still having an issue and it's been more than 5, 6 months and you're having an issue forgiving somebody, then I think you need to go and get some professional help. And in the Latino culture, going to get help through a psychologist or therapy or whatever, a lot of the times it's considered taboo, right? But there's nothing wrong with you going and getting assistance. If you really want to move forward, if you really want to live a beautiful life, live a life of freedom, then you need to go and get that assistance and go and forgive that person for you, not for them. To hell with them. Forgive that person for you. Anyway, guys, I hope that this has helped somebody. And if you know someone who is having a hard time forgiving, have them listen to this episode. I hope you have a great, great time. And remember, forgiveness will set you free.